All right, moving on in my stack of stuff. I want to cover this President Trump trip to the Middle East. As you can see, he received a king's welcome from Saudi Arabia. Literally, the king of Saudi Arabia rolled out the purple carpet for President Trump. But I want to give you a context that you will not hear anywhere. You won't hear it on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I'm going to give you a context to this trip that you've never heard before. And this context goes all the way back to 2006. In 2006, there was a pastor of an 8,000 person church in Colorado. And he wasn't just the pastor of that church, he was also the leader, the president of a 30 million person coalition of Christians that use their influence to help influence politics and laws in America. And this man, who was the leader of those 30 million Christians and the leader of that 8,000 person church in Colorado, was in compromise. It came out all over the news that he was found to be in a relationship with a male masseuse behind his wife's back that also involved illicit drug use. Now, I had a dream about this guy the night before, and then this event happens in the news, and then after the event happens in the news, I get a visit from an angel explaining to me what this event actually was. And the angel said to me, he showed me a vision, actually spoke with a vision. And the angel showed me that when this man fell, it marked the beginning of the greatest revival America's ever seen. The angel showed me that this man, when he fell, it was a shaking of the household of God, or at least that's what it represented, was a shaking. And this shaking of the household of God was so strong that people, men and women of God, who'd been given mantles by the Lord and who weren't stewarding those mantles of authority, mantles of power, mantles for preaching, mantles for finance, all kinds of mantles that God gives people to empower them. The men and women who were not stewarding the mantles the Lord had given them, these mantles vibrated up off of their shoulders and fell down onto the ground, and dust came up. And I saw angels flying down and picking up these mantles, and they began mantling a new leadership. In fact, days after I had this visit from this angel, I was at the Capitol in Sacramento. And the angel had told me that this new leadership, it was a changing of the guard, that when that man fell, it marked the beginning of a changing of the guard in the kingdom. And that new mantles being given to new leaders, and new leaders would take time to have to learn how to walk in those mantles and eventually emerge. But a changing of the guard had taken place. And I found myself at the Capitol in Sacramento, and all of a sudden, they had a literal changing of the guard. Have you never seen a changing of the guard at a state capitol, where the guy who's guarding the door, the entrance, stands down and there's a big hubbub and the horns blow, and you can probably go online, there's different versions of it, a changing of the guard. But the Lord confirmed this visit from this angel and this vision that he gave me about the changing of the guard with a literal changing of the guard when I was at the Capitol in Sacramento. And so this revival, I knew it would take 40 years. And the Lord showed me that this new leadership, this new mantling, these leaders would be trained how to walk in these mantles, and eventually they would emerge, and they would begin to force the enemy out into the public, that we would see corruption, we would see natural disasters, we would see, it would be like a zit popping basically as this new leadership arose in America. Well, here we are 20 years in to that vision that this angel gave me or showed me, and I'm really starting to see the fruit of this revival that's taking place in the hearts and minds of Christians all across America and beyond, I believe, as well. And so Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia, for me, goes all the way back to 2006. Trump's trip is the next level of this picture of a prosperity that will be coming to America. One of the things the angel showed me was that America will be completely debt-free, which at that time made no sense to me, because they kept telling us we're trillions in debt, and the interest on the debt is putting us in so much greater debt. We can't even afford the interest on the debt. And we've had this picture painted for us by the fake news media that America is going under, that America is buried in debt and can't get out of it. But that's not what this angel said. And so when I look at this event in the news, and I want to give you an article that speaks to what I'm talking about, that Trump's trip right now is kind of the second trip. He originally went there in 2017 after he was elected at the end of 2016. He went to Saudi Arabia. It was his first trip. And it was a declaration. It was a tour that Trump was taking to signal to the rest of the world that there was a new sheriff in town. And so I want to take you to this article by Julian Xavier that explains this more thoroughly. Trump's Middle East Initiative, A Sign of Economic Resurrection by Julian Xavier of the Sovereign Ledger. He says, we've got some major developments coming out of Trump's camp, a wave of economic partnerships. They're real, tangible infrastructure deals, and they're being forged in the Middle East. You got Turkey planning copper factories here in the U.S., Saudi Arabia bringing in $600 billion worth of economic support, and Qatar investing in joint projects. Now, I'm not here to deify Trump. I'm just reading the article here. And you know that, but I am here to say that when a leader begins loosening the grip of the globalist boot on our nation's neck, it does matter. You can discern the fruit. God raises up and tears down rulers for his purposes. So Julian Xavier is saying that Trump's trip to the Middle East is the beginning of the globalist boot being released from our neck, at least in the realm of economics and finances. And I want to go on to show you what he's talking about here. He says, Isaiah 61 says that the Spirit of the Lord is upon us to rebuild the ancient ruins. I believe some of this economic activity is a signpost. And I agree with him, because what Trump is doing is lining up with the vision the angel gave me in 2006. We're 20 years into this 40-year revival. It says, but listen, the globalists hate that. They hate any display of national strength, sovereignty, or God-given prosperity. And then he goes on to show the symbolism of Trump's Middle East trip, 2025 versus 2017. I just want to cover one of these. Trump's current Middle East initiatives draw deep symbolic power from his landmark 2017 trip to Saudi Arabia. It was the first foreign trip of his presidency. That trip was notable for the glowing orb moment. Now, do you remember the glowing orb moment? I'm going to take you there right now. This is the glowing orb moment. Trump was in Saudi Arabia 2017 meeting with world leaders, and everyone gave him a hard time because of this moment right here. People were saying this is a satanic ritual, this is a Freemasonry ritual. Whatever it was, it freaked a lot of people out. He met with the leaders in Saudi Arabia, and they all put their hands on the globe together. I'm going to read what Julian Xavier has to say about this. The glowing orb moment was a surreal image that some interpreted as symbolic of secret alliances or occult influence. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what this article says. Now, it says, goes on to say, symbolically, Trump's 2017 trip marked a shift from Obama-era foreign policy towards national realignment, realigning global relationships, not around ideology or soft power, but around economics, strength, and transactional sovereignty. So what this article is saying is that Trump's trip to the Middle East, the first time, was to secure military powers around the world. Trump made trips to all these different nations, and different nations bowed to him. You saw the Queen of England, who's now deceased. The Queen of England met with Trump. Trump walked in front of her. This was symbolic of a new sheriff in town. So Trump's first stint as president was a new sheriff in town making military alliances. And now on this second phase of the Trump, I call it the Trump operation, the second phase of the Trump operation. So I wanted to show you this other article by Sophronius, the scribe, from the investigative commentary. He calls it the theater of the elite, how the world becomes their ritual stage.